Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Director Chopra, good to have you here. Thank you and your team for your leadership. The CFPB plays an essential role in defending American consumers against some powerful financial interests that want to take advantage of consumers, especially those that engage in practices that essentially separate consumers from their money without giving them any additional value. You, of course, the Bureau has become a target of those interests and have filed a lawsuit to try to put you out of business, which, as you know, is pending before the courts. I'm proud to have joined the chairman of the committee, Senator Brown, and others in filing the amicus brief in that case to make sure that you can continue to protect American consumers. I've long been a supporter of the FedNow system because I think that folks who are living paycheck to paycheck, wage earners should be able to get immediate real-time access to their money, so they're less subject to payday lenders and less subject to overdraft fees, which you have worked to also cut down on. I'm also have introduced the Opt-in Act, which makes it harder for companies to convert free trial periods into paid subscriptions without consumers' consents. That particular bill is outside of your jurisdiction. But since we're facing this moment in the courts, could you just provide a high-level sort of estimate of, if you look at all the areas under your jurisdiction where you're trying to crack down on various schemes that unfairly hurt consumers, do you have a sort of ballpark estimate as you look across your jurisdiction of what goal you're working to try to save consumers money in dollar terms?
Well, it's been billions of dollars just in the past year alone. The CFPB, I believe, has collected over $17 billion just in a subset of its work. But let me share with you this. When we let bad actors violate the law, it's not just consumers that get hurt. It's every firm that is trying to play by the rules. They get disadvantaged too. And I think we always need to remember the people who get hurt are not just the homeowners, not just the borrowers, but it's the businesses that are following the law. And rule of law in our financial marketplace is imperative, and it's why we take our responsibilities so seriously and why money in people's pockets, it was theirs to begin with.
I appreciate that. As you say, there's that dual benefit. $17 billion in just one sector over 1 year obviously illustrates how important your work is to defending consumers. And if you don't have a cop on the beat who is trying to make sure everybody plays by the rules, as you say, it actually creates an incentive to a race to the bottom. And we don't want to establish that kind of system. Let me ask you briefly about some of the rent-a-bank schemes. I've been concerned over time about online lenders who essentially engage in these schemes to, quote, rent a bank and therefore escape some state laws that protect consumers against usurious interest rates. Senator Brown and I teamed up and we worked on a CRA that overturned the Trump administration's rent-a-bank law that we thought opened the floodgates even further to this kind of price gouging. But I know that you and your team continue to look at this, and this remains an area of concern. Can you talk about concerns about online lenders and the practices they're engaged in, again, trying to route transactions in a way that avoid state laws to protect consumers, like in Maryland? We have interest rate caps. Can you talk briefly about that?
One of the most important parts of the CFPB was to cut down on the regulatory arbitrage that you see some firms try and play to get out of certain consumer laws, especially at the state level. So in some cases, they might just piggyback themselves to some bank or some institution in order to get around it. We, though, have authority over the non-bank firms, and we have taken a number of actions against them, and we are also working to make sure that all of those activities are legitimate and in accordance with the law. We do see a big footprint of online lending, and that can be good in certain circumstances, except if it's purely about arbitraging the law.
No, I appreciate that. I mean, there are obviously good actors in this space that are playing by the rules, but it's kind of the Wild West out there still. And I hope you will continue to make sure that folks aren't breaking the law and make proposals for how we can better protect consumers in this space.
I appreciate that. And I just want to make sure that the 17 billion number, I'll make sure I have the most updated estimate so that it's in the record appropriately in case I misspoke.